So we continue with the yoga of the soul's release. The soul is pushed into the background, behind the surface nature and its heaviness, dullness, ignorance, inertia. So it is like a wall behind which the soul stays, waiting for the time when the being will be ready to manifest it. This is happening to Ashwapati. The soul's experience of its deeper sheaths no more slept, drugged by matter's dominance. Usually it seems to be drugged, it is heavy. It is not heavy, but the weight of material inertia is heavy, and the soul waits for the right time to emerge. In the dead wall, closing us from wider self into a secrecy of apparent sleep, the mystic tracked beyond our waking thoughts, a door parted, built in by matter's force, releasing things unseized by earthly sense, a world unseen, unknown by outward mind, appeared in the silent spaces of the soul. So the main experience is that a door parted in the wall that separates us from our inner being. The deeper we go, the wider we are, the vaster our consciousness. But the surface nature is what we call our little self. Body, life, mind, unconscious and completely centered on its surface nature. The ego is the dominant characteristic. Therefore, we are completely cut off from our real self, which is an expression of the infinite and the eternal. He is now entering into that. A door parted is the main sentence. Into a secrecy of apparent sleep. It's not sleep, it is quietude. It's immobile. The soul is never troubled, it is never agitated. The surface being and body and the vital and the mind, they move here and there, they are attracted to this and that, whereas the inner being remains completely tranquil and waits for the time when the outer being is ready to receive and manifest it. So it is a tract beyond our waking thoughts, what we call our conscious being. Behind this so-called conscious being, there is a wider, greater consciousness. And the connection between the surface nature and the inner being is usually not found. We have to work on it. This is the slow movement of going within, becoming aware of essentially who we are, not this surface person, but the deeper person that we really are. There is a very beautiful essay by the mother, which Sri Aurobindo has translated, and it is called The Supreme Discovery. To discover really who we are, the real self, not the surface being. So inside that is the divine presence, and therefore a world is there, because the infinite is there in that inner presence, unknown by outward mind. So he is entering into a new plane of experience, of light, of consciousness, of truth, unknown by the surface mind which always divides, doubts, questions, analyzes. So this world is not to be analyzed, is not to be judged. It exists by itself, and so it remains unknown. He is entering into that state. This is the freedom of the moksha that he is slowly acquiring. Appeared in the silent spaces of the soul. He sat in secret chambers, looking out into the luminous countries of the unborn. So the consciousness of the seer, of the rishi, as if he is moving into his inner world, and he has taken his real, he is poised in that world, secret chambers, looking out into the countries of the unborn, not looking in, looking out, because the vaster world of the future, the world of the infinite, the world of the eternal, is so much vaster than this little present surface existence, which is like a tiny speck in time, is opening out into a much greater inner landscape, where there is no darkness. The unborn is not just not manifested. The unborn is also the infinite and the eternal, where all things dreamed by the mind are seen and true. There is no past, present, future. All things already are in that inner world. They manifest themselves gradually, little at a time, when the outer world finds itself capable of transmitting something of that light or the truth or the knowledge. And so in our physical external life, there is a progressive manifestation of light or consciousness, not even continuous. Whereas, how does that manifestation come about? Because that truth and consciousness are already there. That is why Mother said very clearly, you cannot dream of something that is not already there. It has to be there somewhere. That's why you can dream of it. We have had dreams of perfection, of immortality, of perfect love and unity and joy, but not by outer organizations can these be achieved. They have to be lived from the inner state of consciousness. This is where very often man has gone wrong. He has his dreams and he tries to manifest them by all kinds of outer methods, government or whatever. And they have always failed, because we start to live from the within towards the outside. You have a dream, you work it out. You have to move within, get in touch with the source of that, and there you find that there all is one. All is already there. The future is already present. There is no need to slowly manifest it, unless you bring it out into this world of relativity. The outer world is relative. The inner being is absolute. It's perfect. It's all-containing. And therefore, all the things that one has and man has, dreams of perfection, are already there, seen, true. And that is why you can say there are, in fact, all dreams are true. Nothing is impossible. Only we have to change into being capable of transmitting and manifesting that. And all that the life longs for is drawn close. We long for God, light, freedom, bliss, immortality, love, unity, peace, all these things. And if only we realize that the basis of all these has to be the divine. Establish the divine or establish yourself in the divine consciousness, and they will all slowly manifest themselves a little at a time. It's not that the divine is the end of the road. The divine is at the beginning of the road. He is at the center of the road. He is the end of the road. He is the all. But we move from the undivine to the divine a little towards the divine. But we are always carrying our ignorance. As I go along, I carry my weakness with me, my mind with me, my errors with me. So whatever I do will always have that stamp of error and defect. So nothing is done perfectly. But if I start from that inner state of perfection and unity, then it will be completely different. This is why, for instance, Sri Aurobindo made a comment when there was the dream of liberty, equality, fraternity. The French had, it was a wonderful phrase. It didn't work. He said, they put fraternity last. Fraternity has to be the first. The absence of the ego, the sense of oneness is the starting point, it is not the last. So it is this is where we go wrong often. We think the last culmination is the divine. It is. The culmination is the divine, but the starting point with which you have this power of aspiration comes from the divine. The divine is within. The journey is made up by him. He has made it out. So the hand you hold as you move along the road is his. The one you reach at the end is his. There is nothing but that. When that sense comes, all is already achieved. So as he says, all that the life longs for is drawn close. He saw the perfect in their starry homes, wearing the glory of a deathless form. The perfect are the gods, the beings who do not need to evolve because each one is complete in himself, embodiment of perfect principles. Man is a traveler. He tries to acquire capacities, faculties, draws inspiration from experiences. He is all the time moving, changing. The perfect do not need to move, they are already complete. Each one in himself is an absolute, but each one is only himself. So you have the God of one principle and the God of another principle. The God of light is not the God of power. The God of power is not the God of joy, and so on. Each one. And these are things man has always wanted. We all have them in little, we might say, bits of experience. Each one is an embodiment of perfection. Man, therefore, can exceed the gods if he continues his journey to the end. The gods remain in their homes. Each one has his place in the universal play, in the universal organization, has a role. At every level there are gods. At every plane of manifestation there are absolutes. And he saw them. Starry homes, they shine like ideals in the night, in the dark, wearing the glory of a deathless form, laying in the arms of the eternal peace. They don't change, they don't struggle. Therefore the gods are always also described as griefless. Man knows grief. In a way, fortunately, he knows grief, because then he has to find a way out of it, to grow out of that. They remain complete in themselves and therefore always peace, wrapped in the heartbeats of God ecstasy. Each God has a completely plunged in the divine Ananda, because they are all expressions of the divine creative Ananda. Each principle is a projection of the divine. In his play of multiplicity and diversity, there are emanations. Each God is an emanation of the divine. Again, there are different emanations, and each one manifests one aspect of perfection. So this is the experience of the Rishi. He is entering into these worlds, coming in touch with these planes. You have Sri Aurobindo's own description of. You imagine himself sitting in his own chambers, looking out as he did. He sat in his room. He did not move from his room. Well, he moved through the universes in that room. He lived in the mystic space where thought is born. Thought is a projection of a world of light. It is a lesser light, but it is still some kind of light in the world of darkness. So he is moving beyond mind slowly. Mind gives us some light in which there is necessarily darkness also. Error is there. Where does this light come from? So he is moving inwards and moving upwards. Because also in the spiritual experience, the deeper you go, the higher you go. The two directions are not opposite, they are simultaneous. A person who can plunge deep within is a person who is aware of the highest planes of consciousness, if you do it knowingly. This is the experience Mother had. Sri Aurobindo speaks of. Where is the source of light? The Supreme. Thought is a projection, like a ray, and that ray of the sun, as it comes closer and closer to the earth, is no longer as brilliant as it was at its origin. The sun's ray, which is golden, orange flame, brilliant, becomes much less so, and it comes within the range of the human perception, because we can't hold on to that much, we can't hold that much light. But we have these sense of mind, life, body. All of these are expressions of the divine manifestation. So he lived in the mystic space where thought is born and will is nursed by an ethereal power. Will is vitality, energy that is there in the mind, so that your mind can do and achieve and manifest, execute something. It is there in the vital. It is this that gives drive and energy to the life force. It is there in the body. It is this that pushes the body forward. But it is difficult to conceive of it as an ethereal power. Ethereal is spiritual. Ether is spirit. So something that is the very essence of vitality, energy, strength, at the same time is an expression of that which seems to be the power of a formless energy. Ethereal is not material. Spiritual usually is considered to be the opposite of matter. So our material existence of body, life, mind is actually fed by a spiritual power which is not from the earthly material origin. So the marriage between the different worlds of life, body, mind as well, they are being fed, nursed, and as if strengthened by a power beyond. So aware of the whole universe is one. The outer physical existence is nursed by a power until this outer world grows into the likeness of a God. It becomes an expression of the divine. The ethereal power and will is fed on the white milk of the eternal thoughts. Not because will can be very, very like the waters are very, very rush, when they rush very fast, they often carry a lot of dirt and sand, and they are murky waters. In our nature also, when the vitality is very strong, there is also at the same time a movement that is passionate and egoistic. But behind that, the power that nourishes and nurtures is quiet, calm, pure. And it is when we are open to the, you might say, inspiration of this pure force of the divine, which is the white milk, our outer being can become an expression of a God. In the witnesses' occult rooms, with mind-built walls, on hidden interiors, lurking passages, opened the windows of the inner sight. He owned the house of undivided time. The witness is the consciousness, the silent, undisturbed consciousness that watches the play. This world is constantly in a state of movement. Manifestation is a field of rising and falling and change, constant change. Behind this change, there is a conscious stillness. The witness is always silent. He doesn't take part in the play. He watches. So it is as if this world is a play, it's a leela, it's a rising and falling and change. And there is a hidden inner constant presence who watches, who doesn't interfere, who doesn't guide, who doesn't stretch out his hand and say, do go this way or don't take up that. That is the role of the mind. There is also the aspect of the grace, but there is that other aspect of the consciousness that is constant. It's just constant, a presence. If I don't recognize the presence, I don't recognize it. But it is there. I have turned my eyes away from it and I see the surface only. The witness remains. The witness doesn't say, look at me, I'm there to help you. It is not there to help, it is there just there. It is. And we on the outside become. The consciousness is. Manifestation becomes. It changes, it rises, it falls. So he realizes, or he enters into identity with this witness consciousness. This is known as the Purusha. This is the Sakshi Purush, as it is described in the Indian terminology. We separate the inner consciousness with the outer life. There are no separated walls. Mind has built a wall. Mind has built many walls. Mind says this is true, that is not. Mind says this is past, this is future. Mind says this is high, that is low, this is good, this is bad. We're constantly making categories, compartments, all kinds of definitions. Behind that is the one who is the all. The high is the low, the dark is the light. Darkness is not darkness. It is the source of all light. He has clothed himself in darkness. The consciousness is everywhere. From the lowest to the highest, there is nowhere that he is not there. But mind makes, you might have given him a place, he is sitting here. All the rest is not divine. Ashwapati is moving into that house of the spirit, seeing at the center of the house the owner of the house, who doesn't guide, help. He feels that constant presence. On hidden interiors, lurking passages. So it is like entering a house with all kinds of openings, passages, corridors. It's like a maze. You may lose your way. This is what happens in life. You lose your way very often. You take a wrong decision. You follow that path. It takes you towards further from the truth that you are seeking. You mistake falsehood to be truth. But he has moved out of that surface experience and opened the windows of the inner sight, not that of mind, not the judgmental, analytical mind that does not see. Mind cannot see. Mind can try to explain, but it does not have a direct knowledge. It's the one part in our being that has no direct connection with the truth, though it is an instrument of truth. Body, yes, it can experience something. Your life experiences, mind will try to explain that experience with the little amount of light it has. But if it wants to know, it has to become silent, and only then can the mind reflect the light. Otherwise, the mind is much too agitated. There are waves of thought that come in and out, and the truth that is above comes sometimes in little patches of blue, like little patches of blue sky in the water below. But if the mind is like a clear pool of water, it can reflect the sky. So this is the whole paradox. Though mind is an instrument of light, and though it wants certitude of truth, it cannot have certitude, it cannot have experience. It has to shut down. It has to be silenced. Then only can there be direct experience. Sight is a direct experience of truth. You see, you know. You touch, you know. You don't have to be explained. You taste, you know. These are the higher senses. They are not physical senses. They are projections from the spirit, a contact from the inner world of hearing, of sight, of taste, of smell, of touch, belongs to our inner sukshma sharir. It's not this surface material body, which is really considered our home. We live in our body. No. There are many other layers to our being. And he's entering into that inner layer. And therefore, that inner sight gets in touch with the eternal. Mind divides eternity into time. Time is the field of change. Time is the field of growth or failure. Time is divided into past and present and future. All was, all is, forever. In the world of play and the leela of manifestation, things appear a little at a time. We are going through all kinds of things in our daily life. We have less time or more time. You are young or not so young. All are part of the one conscious existence. That is again something Mother explains also. Even when you cease to be, where do you go? You go back to the origin. There is no dissolution as such. The expression is temporary. The existence is permanent. So opened the windows of the inner sight. The inner consciousness is perceived because he is not dependent on the rational understanding any longer. Philosophy is an attempt to know the truth, but it uses the intellect as its instrument. Yoga, spirituality does not depend on the intellect. It depends on experience. Experience the truth and then you know. So lifting the heavy curtain of the flesh, he stood upon a threshold, serpent watched, and peered into gleaming endless corridors, silent, and listening in the silent heart for the coming of the new and the unknown. What separates us from these inner worlds? The heavy curtain of the flesh, which is so dense and therefore so credible. You believe only in the physical experience. It's density and inertia and weight that gives it worth, but it is not that. He stood upon a threshold, serpent watched. The snake, a symbol of energy. At the very beginning of manifestation, the possibility of emergence of consciousness out of unconsciousness. One sees the force of the form of matter coming out of formless energy. One sees the force of life coming out of lifelessness, mind emerging out of mindlessness. This could not have been unless all of these were not already involved. So the image we often use in India is that of a coiled snake. As the snake uncoils, it reveals the potentialities, the powers, the capacities that emerge a little at a time. When the snake becomes completely uncoiled, it is as if straight. This is the yoga of the Kundalini. You have the consciousness which is from below, that rises up from below, rises up above and touches the heights. And that point is very luminous. So the symbol is that of a jewel or a gem that is on the top of the head of the snake. But when it is not, as it is usually not, the snake is coiled, it gives a sense of darkness, of heaviness, and of fear. And we stay trapped in that state of ignorance because it is extremely strong. A snake is a big snake, is a very strong animal. But as it uncoils, it reveals its powers. It reveals all the capacities. In us, this energy, as it grows, reveals our potentialities, our capacities to rise from below upwards. And he stood upon this threshold, moving from the world of matter, where the snake is completely coiled, away from the world of matter now, into the inner worlds. This is the experience of Ashwapati. And he peers into endless corridors. The journey of consciousness, the passage from one state to the next, which is indicated by the uncoiling of the snake. This is the next stage. This is a house of many floors. Man is a house, you say, he often uses the image of architecture and sculpture, Sri Aurobindo. So it's like our being is like a house of many floors. And that power of change, of evolution comes, it is as if the snake is uncoiling. And we move into another plane. It is not only on the outside, it is on the inside. So it's like many oriental houses. You have one house Inside is another house, within is another courtyard, and then a third, and then a fourth. Nothing is finished on the surface. So it is like there is world after world after world, existence after existence after existence, as we move within. We travel outside, we often forget that we can travel endlessly inside and discover so many planes and so many truths that are already there and waiting to be discovered. So this is again the supreme discovery that Mother speaks of. So it is waiting, listening in the silent heart, the quietness, for the coming of the new and the unknown. The new discovery of consciousness, states of consciousness that are always there, they are eternal. But my discovery of that state of consciousness changes my whole perception. I say, no, this outer world is not the truth. There is another play of forces behind the outer world. And then there is still another play of forces behind the second, and then behind the third. And this was called the different sheaths of our being. We wear different sheaths or envelopes, kosha. You move from one level to the other. He gazed. His consciousness is completely untroubled. This is his own yoga that he is describing, Sri Aurobindo. He gazed across the empty stillnesses and heard the footsteps of the undreamed idea in the far avenues of the beyond. Beyond the mind, he heard the coming of that which is from the eternal. Dream is a form. Your mind makes a form. One aspect of your mind can give a form to a dream. Later, that dream manifests or can manifest as an experience or a fact. But you go far beyond and within and deeper, and it goes far beyond the mind. So the undreamed idea gives a certain formulation to a reality, which is abstract. Idea is abstract. But because you have an abstract formulation in your mind, you say, this is what I want, this is how I want to manifest it, this is what I will do to be able to manifest it. So slowly from within, outwards, the idea can be turned into a fact. But if we go the other way around and go deeper and deeper within, you have the source of all ideas, which is a projection of the truth. So he enters into that world beyond the outer, for the coming, the far avenues beyond our normal state of experience. And there he heard the secret voice, that presence, that guidance which is constant. The word that knows. Word is sound. Sound is energy. Voice and energy. It is consciousness and force. There is a presence, and that presence projects itself in a certain vibration of energy, and then that energy begins its play, expresses itself through time and space, using this world of manifestation to take shape, to give shape to that consciousness. How long will that consciousness, that shaping of that consciousness take? Depends on the receptivity. Mother spoken about the projection of the new consciousness. How long will that how long must we wait before that consciousness can be seen or experienced on the surface. Once she was asked, you speak of the supermind, how long will it be before the supermind can be perceived? She said, soon, it is taking shape. How soon is soon? Maybe 500 years. It's a different...
I thought 300.
Well, it can be seen tomorrow by you, if you want. That also, she said. It can be seen in no time or in long time. All these are relative terms. It depends on the receptivity, the preparation, what has gone before, how ready you are for it. So that is the whole point. We expect to get results. We don't realize that these results will not be perceived even when they are there, because our being has not been made ready to receive them. That's the end of the student's prayer. We be ready to receive them. That is the thing that Mother says. We have to fight the battle of the future. We don't even know what is the battle of the future. We say those words, we don't know what they mean. So it is by removing from within all that hinders, all that harms, and manifest the truth. So we have to be, as he is, completely empty. And so he gazed across the empty stillnesses. In him, the ego was not there. In him, the obscurity was not there. The ignorance was not there. It was completely blank and empty. And therefore, he could hear the play of the divine force. He heard the secret voice, the word that knows, and saw the secret face that is our own. He saw the divine presence within. That is the real self. The presence without, the person outside is not you. The person within is the real you. That person within is the divine. That is again the first sentence of the Supreme Discovery that Mother said in that essay. Right within is the real person. What you call yourself is not self. It's a temporary arrangement of different principles and powers of body and life and mind. And this is breakable and changeable and imperfect. That's why they change. We change because we are not yet finished products. We have to be expressions of the Absolute and the Perfect, which is already, this is the real reason for existence. This is when earth can become an expression of the divine, the life divine. The inner planes uncovered their crystal doors. For us, the inner planes are there, but they are not crystal doors. Our doors are covered with mud and darkness and ignorance and ego and mind, which is like ignorance. And therefore we can't see through them. We just see just the outside of things. But when there is absolute inner purity, the yoga of self-perfection that Sri Aurobindo speaks of, a big part of it is the yoga of self-purification. You purify the being of all the things that come in the way of the connection between yourself and yourself, the surface self and the inner self. And you see the eternal is within. The pilgrimage is within. You don't have to go on a pilgrimage. You just have to go within. And so the universe is inside you. The inner planes uncovered their secret doors. Strange powers and influences touched his life. Powers that are not material, powers that are not vital, nor mental. They belong to other worlds. The universe is not just what we think it is, that body, life, mind. There are other powers also. A vision came of higher realms than ours. Ours is not the only world. There are world after world after world after world. The ancient Vedic rishis knew this very well. We have lost that wisdom. We think we are at the center of the world. Man is the center of the universe. Man is a projection of a small expression of a much vaster universe. So, strange powers and influences touched his life. A vision came of higher realms than ours, and they are within him. Higher kingdoms. There is a sonnet that Sri Aurobindo has written about the other earths. They are within us. Other skies, other landscapes, beautiful expressions, they are all contained within us. We are not just what we are, but we have blocked out these things from our consciousness. Strange powers and influences touched his life. A vision came of higher realms than ours, a consciousness of brighter fields and skies, of beings less circumscribed than brief-lived men. These are the spirits, the forces, the gods. Man is circumscribed by his little wall of egoistic ignorance. These don't have that ego. They are universal principles. And subtler bodies than these passing frames, objects too fine for our material grasp. The forms are there, the shape is not there because the density of matter is not there. So there are beings and principles and powers. This was to some extent known by the ancient mystics everywhere. The earliest age of human knowledge was the age of the mysteries. And they knew that this world as it is a projection of a play of forces that we can't see, but they are there. So there is a force in the tree, there's a force in the river, there's a force in the mountain, there are forces in the air. Everywhere there are beings and spirits. This is one of the fundamental aspects also of the Vedic knowledge. You connect with these forces, not with the form outside. You don't worship a tree, you can worship the force that is in the tree. So that is you don't worship a stone then, you don't worship an image, you worship the spirit that is in the image. If you can relate to that. So, beings less circumscribed than brief-lived men, and subtler bodies, they have shapes, but they are not solid. Then these passing frames, our bodies are stiff, solid, they break. But if they are not dense and not solid, they don't break, but they are there. Objects too fine for our material grasp, acts vibrant with a superhuman light, and movements pushed by a superconscious force, and joys that never flowed through mortal limbs, and lovelier scenes than earth's and happier lives. So you have a sense of something divine, a world that you may call paradise, a world which is heaven and which is contained within us. And this is discovered when you remove the blind ego from your mind, your nature. When you wipe out that and ignorance, and you see the divine presence in all things. The divine takes infinite forms, infinite expressions. He is not supposed to be one name, one form in one world. He is infinite. He is there in the tiniest and as well as the largest forms. He is there in what is solid and what is not solid. But what is always true, He is perfect, complete. And therefore, wherever there is perfection, there is absolute ananda, happier lives. A consciousness of beauty and of bliss. Beauty is form, perfect form. We associate beauty with the perfection of form. But that perfection of form, whether it is the material form or the form of thought or a form of feeling or a form of behavior, anything which is perfect is an expression of consciousness. The presence of the divine consciously manifesting itself in any form of expression is a divine aspect of beauty. So that naturally carries with it the sense of delight, the delight of expression, the delight of manifestation. Beauty and ananda go together. They are two aspects of the same. A knowledge which is the true knowledge, a knowledge which became what it perceived. This is the true knowledge Sri Aurobindo speaks of, knowledge by identity, not knowledge that is this result of a study from outside. I watch, I study, I analyze, and I draw my conclusion. I become the truth, then I know what the truth is. Replaced the separated sense and heart and drew all nature into its embrace. Nature is the field of manifestation. This consciousness is one with nature. This is the sentence starts with a consciousness. This consciousness drew all nature into its embrace. Nature is the world of manifestation, of shape and line and form and change and evolution. All is the Shakti that is slowly becoming an expression of the divine consciousness. Matter and spirit, soul and body, earth and heaven are one. Okay?